It is a very welcome sight. No?
Indeed it is. After weeks at sea, listening to the gentle lilt of the chopping waves, I'd almost forgotten that the sound was a drone awaiting the main melody. And here it is. The main melody.
Oh, chakde phate paji! If you're not a musician already, you should be. Mera kehna matlab aa, it look like you have all the music. Ethe, dil de vich.
Actually, I did used to play the piano once upon a time.
Sachi? Once upon a time kyo?
Well, I discovered that I had a sharpened tool, but nothing to say through it.
Oh ho! I'm thinking. You have arrived India to find aho, the feeling the
Feeling? Oh, you mean inspiration?
oi, inspiration, huh?
Yes, I suppose perhaps in a sort of roundabout way I have. You see, life has given me a unique opportunity, one that I simply could not turn down. You see, I am here on behalf of the Gramophone Company of England, here to record the sounds of the East. I mean record the actual sound of it, not just describe it in words.
Record sound, matlab?
Well, it's rather complex, but basically, sound is just vibration. And they found a way to etch this vibration into wax, and then play the same vibration back at will. Back into the sound is what I mean.
Arey Baba, for wax only. What do they think of next?
Absolutely. Soon, it will be possible for someone halfway across the globe to listen to music which was only up until now performed in front of the kings and queens in the Mughal courts of India. Just imagine.
Imagining. Where in India? You begin your mission?
I will begin in the cultural capital of India, Calcutta.
अच्छा, कलकत्ता दे विच उत्थे तो हमेशा जाईदा आ काम दे नाल उत्थे चले भाजी.
Excuse me?
I have family in Calcutta.
You have family in Calcutta. Well, you must be familiar with my first subject.
Jaswinder Singh, familiar every subject. Please to say.
My first subject. The first recording of Indian music to ever reach the shores of the Western world. The first voice to ever be recorded here in India will be a Miss Gauhar Jaan.
Gauhar Jaan?
Oh, you've heard of her? Oh, goody!
Not goody.
Not goody?
Not goody.
Why forever not?
Gauhar Jaan, बड़ी बड़ी कमीनी है जो दिखा. Very, very arrogant.
Okay.
Instead, you record, ha, Lajvanti Jaan from Delhi. Lajvanti Jaan from Delhi. Those eyes, those lips, those humongous hips, the way they bounce, side to side, as she walks.
But she sings well.
And those hips, shamak, shamak,
Never
shamak.
mind all that. An imprint of her humongous hips etched into wax will be little value to anybody. Miss Gauhar Jaan can't be all that unreasonable, surely.
Unreasonable! Unreasonable! Do you know the Datia incident?
Datia incident?
Datia incident!
No, I can't say that I have.
Well, let me tell you Datia incident. That dark night, your evil courtesan, Gauhar Jaan, arrive, beautiful kingdom, Datia, and bring down great Maharaja, Bhavani Singh Bahadur, down to his knees. Only
Miss Gauhar Jaan of Kolkata. Miss Gauhar Jaan of Kolkata. On behalf of His Highness Maharaja Bhavani Singh Bahadur, may I welcome you to the royal kingdom of Datia.
The circumcision of the young prince will take place the day after tomorrow, and following the ceremony, the music and dance programs will commence.
My horses,
Your horses have been taken to the royal stables.
my elephants,
Sugarcane fields,
turrets,
bird sanctuary,
musicians,
artist quarters,
servants,
staff quarters,
my room.
your room. Well, my lady, this is your room.
This? Am I in Datia or Lilliput? It's tiny. And the lighting. It's so poor I can barely see my own hand. My good man, if you were any darker, I would barely see you either. And my goodness, the decor.
The design of the interior was supervised by His Majesty himself.
Well, if His Majesty's eye for interior design is anything to go by, I have no doubt he also has Van Gogh's ear for music.
My lady, I can assure you, His Majesty has been acclaimed for possessing the deepest understanding of the classical arts.
I've stepped in puddles deeper than Maharajas. Warmongers are incapable of death. If they had any, they wouldn't be waging war in the first place. Anyway, I digress. Tell me about the lineup of artists.
The performances will begin with a few up-and-coming artists.
Yes, skip over the half-baked ones.
Fine, yes. Miss Chandralekha Mishra of Benaras,
Half-baked.
Badi Suraya Begum of Lucknow,
Toast.
Miss Lajwanti Jaan of Delhi.
Overrated.
What? Lajwanti Jaan Delhi while he travels throughout the land performing at all the major courts. She's in huge demand these days.
And why wouldn't she be? Like the railway tracks, she's been laid throughout the country.
Well, I can imagine it is rather hard to associate.
What?
I mean, her sense of rhythm is famous.
Oh, please. She would know a beat if it hit her on the head.
Her dancing skills are legendary.
Dancing skills. For God's sake, man, have you seen the size of her? She has so many chins, she looks like she's peering over a pile of chapatis. She needs to write in a bookmark just to find her mouth. Dance.
Anyway, then Mumtaz Begum of Kolkata,
Mumtaz. Don't forget it, it is Datia after all. Continue.
Janki Bai Allahabadi,
Junkie by Mola.
Zora Bai Agrawali, Kanchan Bai Gwalior Wali, Rasulan Bai.
Go on. I always yawn when I'm interested.
Malka Jaan Agrawali, Tanuja Begum Farokabad Wali,
Then yourself?
and finally Ustad Fayaz.
What?
Ustad Fayaz.
Why have I not been given the final slot?
Well, Ustad Fayaz.
What about him?
the Maharaja.
What about him?
I-
What about you? Well, speak, little man. Speak. Don't be frightened. We're not having a battle of wits here. I wouldn't pick on an unarmed man. Speak.
The Maharaja has requested for Ustad Fayaz Khan to deliver the final performance.
Thank you. You can leave now.
My lady, there's one more thing. As your slot is at sunset, His Highness has strongly insisted, that you refrain from singing Rag Puri Danashu. He has instead requested for Rag Jaunpuri, even though it is strictly speaking a morning rag.
You know, Bakshi Saab, there's something about you. You are the kind of person who when one meets for the first time, one doesn't really like. But when one gets to know you a little better, that's when one really begins to loathe you. Please tell your king I will sing every composition I know in Rag Puriya Dhanashri just for him.
My lady, I think you've misunderstood.
And
His
Bakshi
Majesty.
Saab, please be kind enough to place the doormat inside the doorway on your way out. I wouldn't want to get the streets dirty when I go out for a walk.
No, my lady, His Majesty.
Goodbye. arrived in Datia. How strange. I can still feel the heaviness of your heart here. I can hear your tears in the rain pounding on the rooftop. Your sobbing in the wailing wind. Your tortured scream through every roll of thunder. My poor mom. Because of men you drank. Selling each breath you had left for one more drop of forgetfulness. Leaving behind only empty bottles and forms of anguish. I still remember your parting couplet. Helplessly in love with a noose around my neck, I begged for it to hold me tighter. With a small army, I have arrived in the kingdom you left behind, Ma. The same Datia that humiliated you. With an army so stealthy, no palace guard will notice it. With an army so deceptive, no king will see it coming. With an army so elusive, no sword, spear, or arrow can touch it. With such an army, I have arrived in Datia with every beat of my heart pulsating with the word revenge. But unlike you, Ma, I will walk away from this kingdom victoriously with my head held high. It will be the reputation of Datia that will be tainted, not mine. This kingdom will not break me, but I promise to leave behind a broken king. And I will do all of this with my small army. My small, invisible army. My army of 7 notes.
Maxisam! Maxisam!
My lord,
Why are the corridors of my palace echoing with the sound of the very notes that send chills up my spine?
Your Majesty, I tried to tell her.
Tell who?
Sire, that is the voice of Gauhar Jaan.
Gauhar Jaan.
My lord, please, calm yourself.
Did you not explain to her?
I did, Your Majesty, but she...
And still she sings it. My body feels dead when I hear that.
Please, sire, try to put that awful incident behind you.
How can I put it behind me? My innocence broke from me at the age of 11 years. How can I move on when that cursed drug brings back to life the memories of every detail of what happened that night? Every time I hear those notes, I can feel his cold hands over my body again. The smell of his breath, the heat from his body.
sire, it was most unfortunate that the music from the Darba drowned out your cries for help. But you must not associate the crime with the Rag. Your uncle is dead now. Do not put yourself through this torture every time we have these musical gatherings.
He may be dead. His cruelty lives on in those notes. And laugh at me now, just as they did then, echoing around my bedroom as if mocking my helpless cries. Every note his accomplice, every note a witness, every note spinning around the other like a whirlwind of poison, penetrating every corner of my mind, tormenting me, torturing me.
Please, sire, calm down. You see, it's all over now. Isn't that better?
Yes. Much better.
Those notes really have become a poison for your mind, sire.
That's an understatement.
Remember, the courtesans are experts in mixing the 7 deadly ingredients of that poison.
And the palace is already filled with courtesans. As the saying goes, my lord, if you are destined to live next to a river, then make friends with the crocodiles.
You mean sleep with them?
No. I mean, exchange poetic verses, share calligraphy, discuss the finer points of art and music.
Oh, what's this, It is my misfortune that we have fallen upon peaceful times, where the only way a king can demonstrate his power and prestige is through these
silly musical part.
Then that's my lord. The King of Datia cannot be seen to have such a weakness. Just as the shadow of a well falls not outside.
Weaknesses of the mind must be kept secret. The common man is prone to fear, and so the king must appear to have none. For a member of the royalty, enemies are never far away. And if news that the King of Datia fears something as trivial as a melody reaches even your own men, they will surely lose faith in their leader.
You're right, Master. You're right, as always.
If Gauhar Jaan does sing this rag, it may be disastrous. You must make it your mission to stop her.
But how?
I see only one solution to this problem, Your Majesty. You must meet with Gauhar Jaan
And
privately.
sleep with her?
Talk to her.
What a woman. You know what happens to me when I try to...
I know exactly what happens to you when you try and talk to a woman. But listen to me first. As it stands, you will most definitely sing Rag Buya Danashri during the circumcision ceremony. And you will no doubt enter into one of your tantrums again. Am I right?
Yes.
What if she arrives at the event, trembling with fear at the sight of you? Forget Rag Buya Danashri. It would be a miracle if she could even sing a note, let alone string a few together.
But what kind of a musical evening would that be?
Sire, it would be a musical evening where everyone in the land would learn of the consequences of going against the wishes of the fearsome Maharaja of Datia, and that, my lord, would demonstrate your power and bring you prestige.
And what would bring about such a fear in her?
Now, that's where my plan comes in. But before I tell you the plan, listen to me very carefully, my lord. The success of the mission will depend on you following a few crucial guidelines. Number one, it's better to keep your mouth shut and give the impression of stupidity than to open it and remove all doubt.
I don't quite follow.
Illustrated beautifully.
Huh?
Just do as I say, sire. Trust me on this. Suppress all your natural instincts, especially your habit of rambling. No one ever got lost on the straight road. Meet with her and say little. It is through maintaining silence that the heron catches the fish. When you do speak, choose your words carefully. Consider each word, as you would consider where to place your cavalry or where to place your infantry on a battlefield. Every word may either provoke her and keep her vigilant, or lower her guard and provide you with that vital opening.
Can I just sleep with her?
Your Majesty, the pride of a lady can be dispelled only by sweet words, just as boiling milk subsides with a drop of cool water. Smothering her of your own milk won't be necessary. Do you remember what the Queen Mother used to tell you when you used to play?
Yes. A boy can't hold hands with God if his hands are busy holding...
No, when you played outdoors, my lord.
Oh, yes. Keep 5 yards away from a carriage, 10 yards away from a horse, and 100 yards away from an elephant.
Well, add this to the list. Keep 1,000 yards away from a courtesan. There is nothing more eloquent as a rattlesnake's tail.
A thought just crossed my mind.
This has been a lonely and terrifying journey.
Huh?
Go on.
Why don't you meet with her instead of me? You're good at placing your cavalry and infantry on the battlefield.
Because, sire, then it would confirm your fears of her. Now listen carefully. The plan. Just as a little water rouses a fire but a bucketful puts it out, your response to her challenge must be absolute and ruthless.
Absolute and ruthless.
Now, have you heard of the courtesan Japan Churi? Japan Churi. 56 slashes across her face. Ended her career tonight. Japan Churi.
Yes. Japan Churi.
scar the face of a courtesan with a seductive charm is no more. The end of a career.
The end of a career.
Now remember, Your Majesty, not a word.
Not a word. So, what's the plan?
The plan, Your Supposed Highness, is that you'll scar the face of Gauhar Jaan.
Ah, yes. I will scar the face of Gauhar Jaan.
What an honor that the great king of Datia, Maharaja Gauhar Singh Bahadur himself, should request to spend a morning with a humble courtesan such as myself. I'm deeply touched by the gesture, Your Majesty.
Not at all. The great lineage of my ancestry have shared this very hall with the company of the finest courtesans of the past. However, as fortunate as my forefathers were to be in their presence, I assure you that this court has had no greater honor, no greater privilege, no greater delight, no greater joy than to host the legendary Kotawali of Patiala, Gauhar Bhai.
Gauhar Jaan, and it's Kolkata, and I'm not a Kotawali.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are so many ladies of the night singing and dancing in the palace at the moment that I've lost track of.
Of course there are. Your predecessors fought long and hard battles in order to expand their empires. They had little time for such trivialities. However, it is thanks to more idle kings like yourself
I
that we courtesans now have a chance to present our arts in front of rulers with, how should I put it, more time on their hands.
More time. It is true that we are blessed with peaceful times, and during such eras of relative quietude, one's skills with the kite do tend to override those with the sword somewhat. Nevertheless, this very blood that conquered vast lands and made Datia the great kingdom it is today does in fact run through these very veins of mine. Peaceful times that cannot take away my great privilege.
Wonderfully put, Your Majesty. Your family lineage does indeed stand tall, like a great range of mountains, each peak reaching into the heavens, each summit representing the great kings of Datia past. Granted, your own reign may represent one of the smaller surrounding hills, but nevertheless, the range is the same.
Smaller hills?
Don't worry, I'm sure the slopes contain many wonders not found at the summit. It's okay not to be the brightest crayon in the box.
Great.
Anyway, Bakshi Saab read up the lineup for your little musical gathering. I was delighted that you've given so many up-and-coming students.
Students?
From the lesser-known musical styles a chance to perform.
Lesser known?
Never mind. I'm sure one can also find in a bitty little pond what thrives in a great ocean. Your kindness in giving them your support is overwhelming. However, may I just suggest, with the reputation of Datia firmly in the forefront of my mind, that if Datia is having financial difficulties and cannot afford more professional artists, to perhaps reduce the list of artists and push the selection a little more towards the quality end.
Quality end? Financial difficulties? Datia does not have any financial difficulties.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed with the poor quality of the rooms, that forgetful little Bakshi, and now the lineup.
What is wrong with the lineup? There are some well-known names listed. Bakshi Saad said that a large Vanti from somewhere or the other performs everywhere. Something about her hips.
Yes, well, they do say that travel broadens one. It certainly has broadened her considerably.
What?
Oh, Your Majesty, I envy your innocence. These days, a has-been has to only create a scandal around her name to circulate enough that a patron confuses the famous for the infamous. I'm sorry it never was. But let's look on the positive side. This budget end, cheap, savers, two for the price of one multi-pack type of the wife selection you've decided to go for should fit right in with the current state of the palace decor.
Current state of a palace decor? I personally oversaw the entire makeover of the palace and designed it in full accordance with a vast brand.
Oh, so you mean to say that all of this was intentional? I am so sorry. What at first glance appeared to be simply corny and outdated decor, I now understand is a clever and intentional recreation of, let me guess, a retro-style slum brothel. Am I right? Am I right? I am right, aren't I?
Yes, yes.
I knew it. Well, in that case, it is an ingenious and unique concept to bring the feeling of a red light district right into the interior of the royal palace. Very arty. I am impressed.
Yes, the retro style slum brothel wasn't easy. It took a lot of careful thought and vision.
I see. So first you make your ancestral home intentionally look like a cheap brothel, and then you invite lowly courtesans over to sing and dance for you in it. Is that it?
What?
Your poor ancestors must be turning in their graves.
No, no.
And come to think of it, you did mistake me for a courtier bali just earlier.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So, when exactly did Datia completely lose his dignity? Was it under your reign or your father's?
Oh, no. Heaven needs to keep silent.
In fact, this seems rather similar to the way my mother was treated by your father.
No. Cavalry, infantry, all in the wrong place.
You do remember my mother, Gauhar Jaan, don't you?
Cool water subsides boiling milk. Milk!
Milk?
Oh, sleep with me.
What? Certainly not. What do you think I am?
Well, I just slipped out. I didn't mean to smother you with my milk.
Milk? What milk?
I just thought.
Thought what?
I just thought it would stop you from talking.
What would?
Some of my milk.
I don't have to listen to this.
Oh, no, no. I'm sorry. My God, I'm terrible with words. I just need practice in placing my cavalry on the battlefield.
Well, practice placing your cavalry in someone else's battlefield.
Oh, no. That's not what I meant. No. I just thought, since your reputation was tainted anyway.
Tainted?
I didn't mean it like that. I just thought. You did wake up in bed next to the aged Raja of Kandar at the age of 13.
That is the fate expected of a courtesan. What is more scandalous is when a young prince wakes up next to an old Raja at the age of 11.
You know?
I was just going to tease you a bit and sing Rag Puriya Danashri just to add a bit of memorable tension between us. But now your little secret will be composed right into the lyrics of your favorite rag and sung to all the Maharajas of the land. Hell, if the poetry is good enough, the compositions may even get passed down through generations of musicians. Datia may eventually be known just for your little scandal. How's that for revealing a state secret?
October 27th, 1902, after the gentleman with the turban's account of Miss Gauhar Jaan's humiliation of the Maharaja of somewhere or other, I have immediately sent an urgent telegram to London requesting more funds. I am hoping her arrogance may soften at the sight of a greater sum of money.
planning on joining the great Indian circus, aren't you? And walking the tightrope?
No, I have a meeting with a certain courtesan.
Courtesan? Ah, now I understand your concern for your blood pressure.
Yes. No, it's not what you think. I'm here to capture her art.
Whether you capture her art or not, you'll still raise your blood pressure. You diagon.
No. Her art. I'm here to capture her art.
That's quite all right. We brought you the spices, driving cotton bales. You brought us the railway and the driving STD wards.
STD wards.
Sexually transmitted diseases. When your British Army arrived from England to pull us up to the mark, they thought they'd captured the arts by visiting our local courtesans on their days off and managed to capture other things while they were at it.
No. I am here on behalf of the Gramophone Company of England. I'm here to capture the sounds of the courtly arts, record the songs of courtesans on a newly invented machine, which...
Vibrations engraved into wax and all that?
Yes.
Yes, I remember reading up about this a while back. Looks like somebody's been playing around with having some old toy.
The man you're referring to is Mr. Emil Berliner.
Well, in that case, you really have come to capture the arts. And I'm sure you've got quite an exciting adventure ahead of you.
Yes, well, it's turning out to be a little more exciting than I'd anticipated. Apparently, the courtesan that I was planning on recording has something of an attitude issue.
And she must be good. Indian classical musicians usually carry with them a unique air of false humility, rooted in the art and connected at some point in the past, the temple, and eager to cultivate a facade of spirituality, if you will.
But I was led to believe that they're as humble as anything. That they consider the stage to be a temple. I mean, what a thought.
Who is your soon-to-be wealthier courtesan anyway?
A Miss Gauhar Jaan.
Gauhar Jaan from Calcutta?
Yes. Why?
My poor friend, you should have mentioned this earlier to me. A dent in your budget is the least of your worries. My old chum, you will never ever get a recording out to Gauhar Jaan in this lifetime.
What? Why forever not?
It's not Gauhar Jaan you need to worry about. It's the Maharaja.
The Maharaja. Why?
My good man, have you not heard of the Datia incident?
The Datia incident.
The Datia incident. Your ignorance amuses me. Learn how to say namaste and hop onto the first boat set sailing for India, didn't you? Well, let me tell you about the Datia incident. The day when the king of Datia, Maharaja Bhavani Singh Bahadur, brought the great courtesan of Calcutta, Gauhar Jaan, down to her knees.
Miss Gauhar Jaan of Kolkata, on behalf of His Highness Maharaja Bahmani Singh Bahadur, may I welcome you to the royal
Never
kingdom.
mind all that. Are my horses being looked after?
Your horses have been taken to the more stable.
My elephants,
The sugarcane fields,
parrots,
bird sanctuary,
musicians,
artist quarters,
servants.
staff quarters.
A nightingale. The owner of that voice you hear barking next door has been described as a nightingale. We have nightingales here in the royal gardens. I wonder which breed of nightingale did I miss? Despite having the biological makeup of a pig and the genetic history of a chimp, we humans nevertheless insist on comparing ourselves to the most magnificent creatures on earth, and we don't even stop there. When even the mightiest in the animal kingdom is no longer a worthy enough comparison, we call a person a genius. That absurd phenomenon we invented to raise our own pedestal even higher. Now, likening a chimp on 2 feet to a nightingale is audacious enough, but elevate an already egocentric to the status of a chimp, and that's when you got a real problem on your hands, because with status comes power, and with power, arrogance. Then that sweet voice that apparently first reminded one of a nightingale suddenly sounds like this.
Well, speak, little man. Speak. Don't be frightened. We're not having a battle of wits here. I wouldn't pick on an unarmed man. Speak.
Then, having elevated her to the realm of genius, sending her on a massive ego trip, and transforming her entire character, we then forget names like the Nightingale of India, and find new ones more fitting for our singing picture.
Nutter from Calcutta.
Baxi-sir,
Sire, we're buggered.
what happened?
Gauhar Jaan, sire, Gauhar Jaan happens.
Speaking of who, I was just this very moment contemplating on the nature of a genius.
Sire, we need to talk. I mean, gosh, she's on another planet. All and more.
Baxi-sir, do you think there really is such a thing as a genius?
I don't know, maybe. Sire, Gauhar Jaan.
Maybe is a profound answer, Baxi-sir. I'm most impressed with maybe. Maybe opens the door to a huge debate. Maybe could take the entire day.
You know what? I actually meant yes. Yes, I do think there is any such thing as a genius. Now, about Gauhar Jaan, you may have a
Well,
big problem.
now you see, that's what everyone thinks.
What, Your Highness?
That out of thousands of people, every now and then emerges a genius. Someone who is intrinsically special. You see, I disagree.
Yes, yes, you're quite right, sire, was I thinking. Of course there's no such thing as a genius. We're in agreement. Now,
Well, neither of us may think there is such a thing as a genius, but the fact is the vast majority do. Then, where the devil does the idea of a genius come from?
sire, is this to be one of those occasions when we spend the entire day philosophizing over something trivial? Take your mind off the fact that you are a victim of peaceful times and will never likely die gloriously in battle as your forefathers had.
Perhaps.
Is there any chance at all I can avoid having this discussion with you at this present time?
Alive, no.
concept of a genius is an interesting and multifaceted notion, consisting of numerous and complex sub-layers, each opening up into its own network of principles and unfolding into a vast... Yes, sire.
That music!
Ah, my lord, this is what I've been trying to tell you. I'm afraid Gauhar Jaan is likely to go against your wishes and sing Rag Purya Danashri after all.
And she practices it now, a sunset rag at midnight. No musician ever did that. Unless she does so to offend.
My lord, if I am not mistaken, you appear pleased at her chest.
Right you are, Baksisab, right you are. It is the curse of the competent not to be called upon. And in this dreary period of peace, I welcome the presence of an enemy to challenge me, to threaten me. It's got to a point where even the wooden king on a chessboard sees more action than I do. I crave to be part of a war again, to smell the sweat on the battlefield, the stench of blood, the sight of a field strewn with rotting corpses.
Sire, there is no war. She's just singing a rag that you don't like.
What? Baksisab, the first rule of warfare is never underestimate your enemy. They may hold secrets of warfare unknown.
She's a courtesan. Their secrets usually concern their own virginity.
You're mistaken. A courtesan is no ordinary enemy.
No?
The scriptures discuss hundreds of ways to defeat a man, but not one to defeat a woman. The woman is an enemy so dangerous that even the scriptures don't even dare go there.
What kind of a sick enemy is that?
They call her a female.
Male, with the cunningness of a feline, a female. Then what will we do, sir? The palace is filled with these females here to perform for the young prince's circumcision ceremony.
Ah, but only one has a right to challenge me. Invite over a feisty young courtesan. He who is skilled at a certain work is expert in its secrets. The elephant is swept away by the river's flow while the minnow swims against the stream. Our dear courtesan may be an expert in spinning melodies, but she is challenging a king at his own game. The art of war.
What an honor that the great king of Datia, Maharaja Bhawani Singh Bahadur himself, should request to spend a morning with a humble courtesan such as myself. I'm deeply touched by the gesture, Your Majesty.
Not at all. The great lineage of my ancestry have shared the bedrooms with courtesans from the finest brothels of the past.
Brothels?
But I'm certain that this court will show no greater elation than to use the services of the famous Randi of Natinagar. Oh, so, where are my manners? Professional companion.
Professional companion.
Lady of easy virtue. Daughter of Venus.
I am Gauhar Jaan. I hail from the cultured Kolkata. I'm not a professional companion. I am not from a brothel, and I have no idea what Natinagar is.
Oh, please forgive me, Gauhar Jaan, when my eyes caught your artificial jewelry, cheap makeup, and outdated dress.
I beg your pardon?
Please have a bow. I trust our dear Baksisab has seen to your needs.
Well, the room is dingy and grotty. The lighting is awful.
Splendid! Did he share with you the lineup of artists?
Indeed he did. Your Majesty, with the kingdom of Datia's best interest at heart, I must confess that your selection of artists is mediocre at best.
You're too modest, my lady.
I was referring to the other artists.
In that case, you're absolutely right. Like an arrow, you tore through the facade and struck at the heart of the matter.
You mean to say that that was intentional?
Absolutely.
Why?
To make sure that the attention is not taken away from the main attraction of the event.
The main attraction.
You, my lady. And plus, how else was I to guarantee the attendance of all the Maharajas from around the country for this one event? My lady, your reputation has unfortunately upset many of the patrons of the land, and I need them all to be present at this momentous event.
Momentous event? I'm afraid I'm confused, my lord.
Well, you see, my lady, I have a proposition for you. I would like to offer you the post of principal court musician at Datia, and I hope to announce your decision at the opening ceremony day after tomorrow, if you are in agreement.
Your Majesty, you have completely shocked me. This is the last thing I expected.
I do have my own selfish reasons, I'll admit to that. All know of your musical prowess, but your, how shall we describe it, overbearing personality has made you infamous throughout the land. If you agree to become the principal court musician at Datia, it will add enormous prestige to this kingdom. To put it crudely, the impression will be that the king of Datia could handle a strong, independent-minded courtesan, while few others have managed to do so. In these peaceful times, prestige is built through unconventional means.
I see. And what might be in it for me?
Ah, now this is the part I really want you to hear. 12,000 rupees for every performance that you give at the court. That's 4 times higher than your highest fee. It is the price I'm willing to pay for the prestige of employing one of the greatest courtesans India has ever known. Furthermore, residency at Datia and a regular salary of 100 rupees per day for, well, relaxing between performances. You really have nothing to lose.
Datia is quite central. And that would make long journeys to performances much easier.
Much more convenient than those long, tedious journeys from Calcutta.
And the fee is astonishingly handsome.
When word spreads that your salary to perform in Datia is 12,000 rupees per concert, if only to save face, no kingdom would ever consider paying you less.
How right you are. A win-win situation.
Absolutely.
In that case, I agree to the arrangement.
Wonderful. I have all the legal paper here for you to sign. There, that's the part that states the sum.
The Kingdom of Datia agrees to pay Miss Gauhar Jaan of Kolkata a remuneration of 12,000 rupees per concert, with a subsidiary wage of 100 rupees per day for expenses during her stay in Datia. Perfect. And what's the rest of the document about?
Just legal blah, my lady.
In the event that the post affidavit the appellant refute alleged prima facie abuse of process act is made, caveat the plaintiff's counter-affirmation of the aforementioned. What does this all mean?
Just legal blah, my lady. A king has to feed his lawyers somehow, so he gets them to learn the Latin for please sign here, and elaborate on it for 20 sleepy pages. Shameful waste of a good tree. Skip over to the last page. Excellent. Even for the powerful, the Creator has made a means of subjugation. For the lamp, the darkness. For the elephant, an anchors. To cross the ocean, a ship. And for the courtesan, a king. My lady, from this day on, I am the anchors around your feet, the darkness in your life.
I am your lord, and I am your last listener. The great Gauhar Jaan of Calcutta will perform no more.
What?
As per the contract you just signed and failed to read in detail, you are now forbidden to perform outside of Datia. I also have no plans of requesting that you perform at the court. So, to put it simply, I, the king of Datia, Maharaja Bhavani Singh Bahadur, have just bought the famously defiant courtesan of Calcutta for a measly 100 rupees a day to remain at Datia, as what really amounts to no more than my concubine. My lady, welcome to Datia.
Yes, of course.
I love this English song. It's so funny. Is a gully just hello, but is a gully just hello. इसमें मजा कुछ और. Indian song? Too serious. मासूम मोहब्बत का बस इतना फसाना है. कागज की हवेली और बारिश का जमाना है. Innocent love story has as much pain as a mansion made out of paper at the times of rain. That's miserable.
Sorry, can I help you?
Wise, तेरी दुआओं में असर हो तो मस्जिद की लाके दिखा. Preacher, if your prayers are that powerful, then make the mosque move. नहीं तो दो good पीर और मस्जिद को गिरता दे. If not, have a couple of bites with me and we'll both watch the mosque move together. Cheers.
Oh, yes, cheers.
Imtiaz Suleiman Mirza from Lucknow.
Frederick Gaisberg.
Ready, Bhaiya? Let me buy you one more drink.
No, thank you. I really don't drink much.
I too drink very little. But when I drink, I change into another person. And he drinks a lot. Cheers.
Yes, okay. Cheers.
Why is he so miserable? Oh, brother from white mother.
Well, I've had nothing but rotten luck since I arrived in India.
Rotten luck? Oh, gambling money?
No. I came here to meet a courtesan.
Oh, gambling life.
No. I'm on a mission to record her songs.
हमने मोहब्बत के नशे में आकर उसे अपना खुदा बना डाला. होश तब आई तब उसने बोला खुदा किसी एक का नहीं होता.
Okay.
Intoxicated by her love, I made her my God. When sober, she explained to me, God doesn't belong to one man only. Oh, you were saying your courtesan.
Yes, well, I came here to record the songs of a particular courtesan, and frankly, after the story that I've just heard, I don't think there will be a courtesan to record.
Jannah, does the sun not rise where the cock does not crow?
Does a record sell on which a voice does not sing?
अरे नहीं जाएगी पूजा तो ढूंढ लो कोई दूजा. Find another. I know. What her name again?
Gauhar Jaan?
Yes.
Big hips?
Ah.
Side to side?
Ah.
I'm not interested in anybody else.
Oh.
I mean, at first I thought the courtesan was the problem, her attitude, her arrogance, and all that. And then I found out that she's manageable, but the Maharaja doesn't let her sing to teach her some sort of lesson or something. And now I'm sitting here in a hotel bar in Calcutta with groundbreaking technology sitting idle in my room upstairs without a scratch on any of the bloody wax.
Maharaja not let us sing?
No. Apparently, she signed some sort of legal contract that prevents her from singing outside of the court.
Here? In India?
Yes, of course, here in India.
Arey bhaijan, law in India is a kite. Rhythm blowing, it can't going.
Are you positive?
Syphilis?
Syphilis? No! Are you positive? Positive that I'll have no difficulties.
Nothing.
Well, in that case, maybe Gauhar Jaan will turn up. I better go up to my room just in case she does come.
Who?
Gauhar Jaan, the courtesan.
क्या ये कलकत्ता वाली खबर?
Yes, Gauhar Jaan of Calcutta.
अरे you should say before ना. God and that Maharaja, अरे क्या था उसका नाम भाई? Bhavani something both are dead.
What?
Ah,
Are you sure?
yes. Cremation, Buddha, toast.
Oh my God.
Ah, you're not aware of the famous Datia incident?
The Datia incident.
The Datia incident. Well, let me tell you the Datia incident. That terrible day when the evil Bakshi of the palace poisoned the bestest Togri singer in the whole of India, Srimati Gauhar Jaan, and the greatest of Maharajas, Bhavani something.
Through the efforts of little men, does the great maintain their splendor. Just as that doormat keeps the marble floor inside pristine. My forefathers served their king, knowing that to serve him is to serve the people. And I too gladly accepted my position as the doormat of his palace. After a lifetime of service, this bowed head of mine lifts slowly in defiance, demanding to know. What honor is there in the doormat of the idol king? For what? Do I collect what's his hand? Surely a servant to royalty is to be held in higher esteem than one who lives on the boundary between decent society and brothel. How much lower must this head of mine bow in the name of duty? All I hope is strong. There is no help for me.
Just as wind rouses a blazing fire but puts out a little lamp. Like an obedient river, I've spent my life meandering silently wherever fate has taken me. But now this silent river longs to join the roaring waterfall, where it will finally have a voice of its own. Stand up and listen. You fool. Listen to the faraway rain clouds rumbling out their battle cries like an approaching army. Listen to the restless leaves dancing in the stormy gusts around you, screaming slogans of revolution. Hear in every thunderbolt anger's unleashed. Frenzied whirlwinds screaming of unfulfilled dreams. Smell the very fragrance of rebellion in the air. Everything is calling for you to rise. The time to act is here. The time to act is now.
Baxisar, have you heard a word I've said?
Sorry, my lord. I was far away.
You seem less engaged in our discussion than usual today.
I was just listening to the sound of the thunderstorm, Your Majesty. Thinking about the poor trees outside. You ever noticed that there are some that are firm, steady, tall, and stand proudly erect?
Indeed, like kings.
Like kings. Then you must also have noticed that some trees are bowed down, drooping amidst this forest of proud kings.
Like yourself, Baxisar.
Precisely, Your Majesty. Just like myself. Then along comes a storm, and behold, the firm and erect ones are the first to fall, while the bent and bowed ones survive. That which yields is not always weak, that which is firm is not always strong.
What are you getting at? What is that I hear?
Oh, it is the sound of a different storm approaching, sire. It has come to remind this king that which trees are firm and which ones are bowed.
If I'm not mistaken, it is the voice of Gauhar Jaan, and I'm definitely not mistaken when I say that she is singing Rag Maria demonstrating. Did you not explain to her?
What use is the advice of a preacher to a slave who has crossed the line and resolved to defy its master?
Are you suggesting that she sings it as an act of defiance?
And is finally rising in defiance, thinking the unthinkable. How ironic! On water, the boat carries the cart. On land, the cart carries the boat. At times, even the master is dependent on the servant. And therein lies the weakness of the master and the strength of the servant.
If you're implying that she holds the power to humiliate because of a rag, then advise me what to do.
Advise you, little servant of the palace advising the great king. Trust is the greatest weapon a foe has to bring down a giant. Just as the boastful ship depends on the obedience of the lowly anchor hidden beneath the surface of the water.
Trust. You can rest assured that my full attention will be on this evil courtesan.
I am counting on that very thing, sire.
Good. Then arrange for her to meet with me tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, our arrogant courtesan will return.
That she most definitely will, my lord, and so will you.
I assure you, Baxisar, it will take more than a courtesan to be my match.
I am already assured of that, sire. lifetime of sacrifice should lead me only to the sight of my own miserable tombstone, then at least let my legacy be written on one of those sacrifices. The day the loyal servant of the great kingdom of Datia poisoned the Maharaja and the courtesan.
Well, I guess that's it then.
Mr. Gettysburg,
May I help you?
I am Gauhar Jaan.
Gauhar Jaan.
Yes, we had an appointment, 2 p.m. to make a recording. Vibrations etched into wax, etc. Your telegram told me to be here today.
Yes.
May I come in?
Yes, yes, of course, please.
Are you all right?
I'm not sure. I didn't think you would come.
You've made this long journey all the way from England to record the music of my country, to help preserve our traditional art form, and to show people throughout the world what Indian culture has to offer. How could I possibly not come and help you in your mission? I mean, soon it will be possible for someone halfway across the globe to listen to music which was up until now only performed in front of the kings and queens and Mughal courts of India. Just imagine.
Imagining?
Mr. Gettysburg, are you sure you're all right? I mean, if you're not feeling well, we could do this another time.
No, I'm perfectly fine. In fact, I've never felt better. Is your room all right? I'm sorry I couldn't find a fancier hotel.
The room is fine.
It's large enough.
Of course. It's not as if I arrived with horses, elephants, barons, and a carriage full of servants.
No, of course not. And the lighting is adequate.
The lighting?
You can see your hand all right.
Mr. Gettysburg, are you sure you're feeling up to this?
Yes, certainly. It's just the nerves getting to me. The privilege of recording the Nightingale of India.
Oh, I've always hated that title. I mean, with the biological makeup of a pig and the genetic history of a chimp, we humans really have a nerve comparing ourselves to nightingales. I mean, which breed of nightingale did I miss?
Yes. Well, I'm really glad that you agreed to sing for me. Otherwise, this record could have never been possible.
Does the sound not rise, but the cough does not grow?
Yes, it does, but a record cannot sell on which Gauhar Jaan does not sing.
Well, there are others.
Oh, please, don't mention Ashanti Jaan.
Oh, you've heard of her? Shall we begin then? What would you like me to sing first?
Well, I'm a novice. I'll leave the selection to you.
In that case, how about Rag Jaunpuri? A dear friend once requested me to sing it, and I never got the chance. Perhaps he may get his hands on the record you make.
Rag Jaunpuri it is then. Right. If you sit right in front of this cone and you sing as loudly as you can without hurting your voice, of course. Now, the louder you're able to sing, the clearer the recording will come out. We'll do a few tests just to make sure everything's fine, and then we'll do the final take.
Sounds good to me. My name is Gauhar Jaan. My name is Gauhar Jaan.
Actually, before we begin, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Well, I've heard many stories, gossip, really, about, well, about all sorts of crazy things, from you being difficult and arrogant, to Maharajas banning you from singing, to crazy royal servants.
Yes, all true.
True.
You seem shocked.
Well, now that I've met you, you don't seem difficult or arrogant or dead.
Well, I definitely did have a notorious reputation for being arrogant. And I know for certain I was difficult. And yes, that Gauhar Jaan is now dead.
What changed?
Mr. Gaisberg, have you not heard about the Datia incident?
My name is Gauhar Jaan.